Distinguished colleagues, we have a few other announcements. Correspondence from Mr. President. Distinguished Senator Goswell Akpabio, GCON, President of the Senate, National Assembly Complex. Dear Senate President, transmission of Appropriation Amendment Bill. Transmission of Appropriation Amendment Bill 2024 and Finance Act Amendment Bill 2024 for consideration. Pursuant to Section 58, Subsection 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, I forward herewith the above named bills for consideration and passage by the Senate. The Appropriation Act Amendment Bill 2024 seeks to amend the Principal Act to provide the sum of 3,200,000,000,000 only for renewed hope infrastructure projects and other critical infrastructure projects to be undertaken across the country, and the sum of 3 trillion only to meet further recurrent expenditure required government expenditure which are to be funded by expected revenues accruing to the federal government of Nigeria. Furthermore, the proposed amendments to the Finance Act 2023 are required to impose a one-time windfall tax on the foreign exchange gains realized by banks in their 2023 financial statements to fund capital infrastructure development, education, and healthcare access, as well as public welfare initiatives, all of which are essential components of the renewed hope agenda. While appreciating the Senate's expeditious consideration of these submissions, please accept, distinguished Senate President, distinguished senators, the assurances of my highest consideration. Yours sincerely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief. The attachments include the Appropriation Act 2024 Amendment Bill 2024. And the Finance Act Amendment Bill 2024. For expeditious consideration, this is referred to the Committee on appropriation for immediate consideration. Further correspondence. This one is from the All Progressives Congress, APC, the largest political party in Africa. Senator Alero, did you hear what I said? I said this one is from the All Progressives Congress, the largest political party in Africa. So the party that overtook the PDP and diminished the PDP to a miniature ABGA. So this is addressed to His Excellency the Senate President, Dr. Godswill Oboro-Akpabio, President of the Senate, complained against the unbecoming utterances of Senator Ahmed Ali Ndume. I'm writing on behalf of the National Working Committee of our great party to express our displeasure, our outrage, and our deep disappointment at the unbecoming, unfounded, and baseless criticism of the government and the party, the APC, by your majority whip of the Senate, Senator Ali Muhammadu Ndume. As a member of the ruling party, we expected a much more responsible and decorous behavior from him. But this has not been the case. His uncouth and rabid outbursts against the governments before the international community and before the global community is not only harmful to the government's image alone, but also undermines the party's unity and cohesion. And in addition, undermines the government's efforts to bring in foreign direct investment to Nigeria. As he's a ranking member of our party, his actions are unbecoming of a senior member of the Senate and sets a very poor example for others in future to follow. His latest tirade, I hope I'm right, on air during a program on Rise Television, where he referred to the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President, Commander-in-Chief, as being run by thieves, portrays Ali Ndume as a person who is bent on running the country down and running the party aground through incitement and cheap propaganda. We have the view that Senator Ali Ndume should honorably resign his membership of the APC and join any opposition party of his choice formally, instead of hiding behind the veil of grass activism to decimate the hard-earned cohesion and goodwill that our party, the APC, is enjoying within and outside the country. His utterances, which are sheer propaganda, are not based on verifiable facts, are unbecoming of a member of the APC caucus in the Senate of the National Assembly, and it therefore behoves on the APC caucus to bring this to the attention of its members for necessary action to curtail his deliberate mission to undermine the government and the party and the progress of Nigeria, and particularly those appointed by Mr. President to work in his administration. We therefore urge the Senate caucus to take appropriate steps to address this issue and ensure that members of the Senate, particularly those within the All Progressives Congress, hold and maintain decorum in their public utterances. Accordingly, we realize that the position of the whip of the Senate belongs to our party, and we are not opposed to whatever position the members of the APC caucus in the Senate may have, but we are of the opinion that distinguished Senator Mohammed Tahe Monguno should immediately replace distinguished Senator Alin Dume, who is bent on bringing down the country, as the majority whip of the Senate. Signed by Dr. Abdullahi Omar Ganduje, CON, National Chairman, and Senator Surajuddin Ajibola Bashiru, PhD, BL, Bachelor's at Law, National Secretary. Distinguished colleagues, for the APC caucus, of the Senate, which does not include Senator Wadada, those of you who are in support of the suggestion by the party, can you shout aye? Those against say nay. No, I have to be sure. Those of you who are in support of the decision by the party, can you shout aye? Those against say nay. The ayes have it. I actually heard nay from Wadada on the other side. it does not concern him. Accordingly, Senator Tahe Mohammed Monguno replaces Senator Alin Dume as the majority whip of the 10th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Can it be brought forward? Can it be brought forward? You don't work on your own. Can the senator? Sorry, Senator Mangunu, just wait there. The sergeant at arms will walk in front of you. Then the APC leaders will now follow you. All the senators of the APC are leaders. Where is the sergeant at arms? Sergeant at arms, you grab his hand, the rest will follow him. I hope that Senator Mangunu knows he should come and bow to the chair with his supporters before he takes his seat. DSP, DSP, don't cover Senator Oshumole. Senator Walada, please approach. Distinguished Senator Mongodo, on behalf of the 10 Senate, we say congratulations. Congratulations. With the elevation of distinguished Senator Tahir Mongodo to the position of the majority whip of the Senate, his committee on judiciary, human rights, and legal matters will now go to the only senior advocate of Nigeria that we have in the 10th Senate. This means Senator Adegbomirie Adeniyi San, senior advocate of Nigeria, now becomes the Senate chairman on Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights, and Legal Matters. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism becomes distinguished Senator Mohammed Ali Ndume. The chairman of the Senate Committee on the proposed reparation and repatriation becomes distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko. The deputy chairman, Senate Committee on Appropriation, in line with earlier practice, lies with distinguished Senator Ibrahim Mongodo. Sorry, distinguished Senator Mohammed Tahir Mongodo. Deputy Chairman Appropriation, in addition to the Chief Whip of the Senate. The Deputy Chairman of the Senate Committee on Tourism becomes Distinguished Senator Anthony Ani. In line with the spirit of togetherness, forgiveness, Distinguished Senator Abdul Nengi retains his earlier position of Senate Committee Chairman on Population. The Chairman, Senate Committee on Agri Institutions becomes Distinguished Senator Solomon Lalong. Distinguished Senator Simon Lalong, leader. Take note. It's Simon, not Solomon. Solomon is in appropriation. Distinguished Senator Musa Mustafa becomes the chairman of Senate Committee on Livestock Development, a new ministry just created. Any further changes shall be announced in due course. Let's get on with the business of the day. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President. Very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I rise, Mr. President, to move that the Senate...
let us conclude on the presentation of bills.
Mr. President, may I most respectfully move first that we go into an executive session before we come back to...
But there's the point of order. Please, let's listen to the point of order.
Okay. President of the Senate, my colleagues, I'm Senator Dike Plang, Senator representing Plateau Central Senatorial District. I have a point of order, order 41 and 51. If the President find it deemed, I would like to read the point of order. Very short. Kayan ka nake sa from.
Yes, dismiss Senator Plang.
Order. Have you read the order? Order 41. The matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. Order 51. Notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required, except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. These are my point of orders and solicit if I can be listened to.
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Plank approached me and brought up the issue of the collapsed building in Jos, with so many lives of future generation lost. And it's a very urgent matter of public importance. This is the view of the Senate that he be allowed to proceed as requested. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Senator Plank, proceed.
Thank you, my dear President and my colleagues. My motion is on the tragic collapse of St. Academic School building in Jos. And my colleagues, this motion is sponsored by all the senators from Plateau, Senator Mwatkon, Senator Simon Lalong, and Senator Dicket Lang. I read, the Senate notes that on Friday, 12 July 2024, it was a story of Holocaust of unquantifiable magnitude in Plateau North Senatorial District, as a two-story building of St. Academy School, Busabuji, in Jos North local government area, one of the local government areas of Plateau North Senatorial District, collapsed, thereby killing not less than 24 students and staff members, while more than 100 victims were rescued from the debris with bodily injuries of various degrees. Senate notes with utmost sadness that it was a depressing sightseeing as healthy and agile children who left home to write their examinations in the said school were unfortunately returned to their parents as dead bodies. Senate notes further that this ugly incident of building collapse had been a recurrent decimal in Nigeria as a result of poor workmanship, substandard building materials, and constructional standards, leading to wanton destruction of precious lives and various properties worth hundreds of millions of naira. Senate notes too that despite such incidences, investigation and researches are always put upon to verify these poor and unprofessional works done have never resulted to any meaningful punitive measures meted on defaulters. Hence, the recurrence of the activities of quack practitioners taking advantage of eager and willing owners to save costs. Accordingly, Senate to resolve to urge the federal government and all relevant government agencies to immediately put necessary structures and apparatus in place to halt construction failures and bring to book all those violating laid down procedures for constructional activities. 2, urge the federal government to investigate the sad incident and bring to book anyone connected with putting up a shabby structures of the St. Academic School, Busabuji, that collapsed and killed those innocent children in Plateau North Senatorial District. 3, further urge the national emergency agencies and all other agencies of government to mobilize relief and rehabilitation materials to those many families whose victims of this catastrophe, to help them cope up with their losses. 4, urge the Federal Ministry of Health and other relevant government agencies to immediately move to Plateau North to give medical aid to the survivors of the said building crash, to aid their speedy and quicker recovery, and also cushion the devastating effect of the affected families. Senate observe a minute silence in honor of those, our beloved children and staff, that lost their life in this ill-fated incident. I thank you, the Senate President, and my dear colleagues, for this opportunity.
Distinguished Senator Nengi.
Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Mr. President, in seconding this very, very tragic and sad motion by Senator Dickett, I would like to say the tragedy in St. School in Buzabuji in Jos Metropolis has become too many. Mr. President, I was in Jos over the weekend, and because of the tragedy, I had the cause to visit the terrible site in Saint School. And the gory picture of the collapsed building and the incessant cries by the families of the bereaved almost brought some of us that were there to tears. Mr. President, you just imagine that you wake up in the morning very happy to send your child to school, and mid-afternoon, they reported that that child is no more. And you probably did not even see him that day. Probably went to work, and that's the end. And this tragedy happened when the students were writing exams and trying to decipher and trying to get more explanation at that site. We found out, sadly, that there were signals that that building was collapsing. And therefore, in my opinion, the governor was in UK that time, but he had to cancel everything and return shortly after to commensurate with the family. A proper panel has been set up. My prayer, Mr. Senate President, is that this probe panel should not be a typical Nigerian probe panel where probes are made and consequently at the end of the day, nothing actually comes out of the probe. This probe set up by the governor should be thorough and professional. And anybody, no matter how highly placed in that society or community, found to be negligent to the cause of these kids. None of these kids who are told was more than 18, and that is terrible. And therefore, any person found to be negligent in either the building master plan, the owner of the school, I think should not be spared. And I think it is important that all of us as parents, all of us as Nigerian citizens should commiserate with the families of the bereaved and pray that that should never ever happen in this country again. I so second.
Yes. Is it in connection with this debate? Okay, proceed.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. My name is Senator Mohammed Ogoshono. I represent Nasarawa South. I come under Order 10, a matter of privilege.
Yes.
I have seen the sponsors of this bill and noticed that Simon Davo Matkwan. Yes, sir, Mr. President. Simon Matkwan is no longer a member of this Senate and is sponsoring, is one of the sponsors of this bill. If it's an error, it should please be corrected forthwith. Thank you very much.
Yes. Point of order sustained. There is, with the apologies, the clerk of the Senate had actually corrected it. and the new name is Dachong Pam Wadcom. So it's Senator Wadcom, not Senator Simon.
Point of
Not
order.
Senator. Not
Point of
Senator
order.
Wacom. There is also Senator. It's still Senator Wacom, but not Senator Wacom Simon. It's Senator Dashum Pam Wacom. So that has been corrected by the Senate. So your point of order is sustained. Is it Senator Adero?
Point of order.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Mohammed Ademo Alero. I represent Kebbi Central, Kebbi State. Mr. President, I rise to support this very sad motion sponsored by my very good friend, Senator Lange Dickett. Mr. President, this incident is too many. This has happened in Lagos. This has happened in Onitsha. It happened here in Abuja. Mr. President, it's high time for us to take drastic action so that we can save lives of innocent Nigerians. Mr. President, most of these buildings had engineers that supervise the construction, and the architects that also designed this building. Contractors were also there, and they did the construction. Yet there were defects, and these defects were not, taken seriously. So I'm of the view that any building that collapses, the architects that supervise the construction of that building, the building engineers that supervise building should be brought to book. Probably this is the only way we can stop this from happening. Mr. President, we have to save lives and properties of people. Millions of naira have been lost, and hundreds of lives of people have perished because of negligence, professional negligence of some individuals. Mr. President, we should punish those individuals. So in supporting this motion, I urge my colleagues to also strictly suggest punishment for the engineers, for the architects that supervise the buildings. I so second, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ume.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Victor Ume. I represent Anambra Central Senatorial District. Mr. President, this motion has brought back to us one more time the rampant professional negligence that we witness in our construction industry. Mr. President, so many buildings have collapsed in the past, and they've been brought to the attention of this Senate. But what we have never seen has been the sanction against people who did not do their duties. I'm a professional person. I'm an estate surveyor and valuer. And I know that we have building codes, we have development control and building regulation authorities everywhere, both in the states and at the federal level. The process of constructing a house starts from the design. The architect will make the design. The structural engineer will, particularly for buildings that will go more than 2-3 floors high up. And before these plans can be approved for the building to be constructed, there must be checks to ensure that the building, when erected, can stand. Before we talk about the integrity tests on the materials that will be used for the construction of these buildings, very sadly, these things are never followed again. Yesterday, I saw on television the rubbles of this particular building in Jos that collapsed and killed these children. I wept because even the columns were irregular, showing that there was no supervision at all. Nobody supervised the erection of these buildings. Not talk about checking the concrete test to ensure that the concrete so used and the reinforcements were to specifications and standards. So what we are witnessing here is that people who are employed to render these services, both in the approving authorities and in the construction and the supervision, they have abandoned their duties. And when people are killed, nobody is shown to have been humiliated or punished for professional negligence. So this one now, 20-something children cut down at their prime because somebody refused to do his work. I would want us to pay more attention to dealing with people who do not do their work, because this is the only way you can prevent these things from happening. The professional bodies should actually be put on notice. Council for the Regulation of Engineering, Council for all these built environment professions. They cannot be there, and Nigeria will continue to be embarrassed that a simple building is built, it collapses, it kills people, and those people still retain their licenses. We cannot allow that to happen. So this is my contribution on the area of sanction. If we investigate this one, we have to know and seem to have applied the relevant sanctions. The professional bodies should be able to get all those involved sanctioned and their licenses revoked. Because this one is a murder. 20-something children killed by poor construction of a two-story building. In a city like Jos, Jos is not a rural area. So while the construction was going on, people were seeing it, and nothing could be done to check the materials used in building this school. So I join my colleagues in supporting that appropriate investigation will be done. It's happened in Lagos, it's happened in several places, but we don't have any feedback on the sanctions applied to the erring officials. So I sympathize with Dickett Plank and the people of Plateau State, though those people who may have died may have come from different parts of Nigeria, because Jos is a city. I'm sure if you investigate it, you must see people from Anambra State who may have been victims of this collapse. So because we're everywhere in Nigeria, once this thing happens, you must be an Igbo man there dying. So I pay very serious attention to this, and I pray that the souls of these children may rest in peace. But those who are behind this must be thoroughly punished, like Senator Liedo said. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to, in the first instance, extend my condolences and commiserate with those that lost their loved ones in this tragic incidents that occurred in respect of the collapse of the Saints Academy School building in Jos. Mr. President, this incident is one too many. It's occurring every day in all parts of this country. Yes, one may argue that it's not within our purview to debate this matter on the floor of the Senate, but it has become very pertinent, very necessary that we should lend our voices so as to bring to an end, total end, to these kind of situations where people die every day in this country. is within the purview of the subnationals to tighten their oversight operations, to make sure that all that is necessary, the planning departments, all the agencies involved in ensuring that there is sound regulation with respect to the construction of buildings, they should do their work. Yes, FCT is dealing with this matter because it's the area that we have oversight on. We are the assembly of the FCT. I can see that FCT is now taking actions, necessary actions to deal with this matter. It's therefore necessary that we extend our zeal to make sure that all is done to stop this kind of situations happening in this country by urging our subnationals to do something about it. Before now, we used to see how serious the regulatory bodies in the states were doing to make sure that everyone that embarks on building any property is properly oversighted. From the stage of putting together the plan, we could see then that the agency responsible will always make sure that the plans were properly done, and they visit these sites on daily basis to make sure that the right thing was done. But now, I think the oversight operations are no longer the way they used to be. So we call on the governments, of the states to tighten, the regulations involved in, building construction, so that we will not be seeing all these things happening. It is sad that we're having these situations everywhere in this country, but please, let's work together. Subnationals should stand up. We know they are doing very well, but let them do more to make sure that we bring to an end this kind of tragic incidences. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Senior Senator Oshimole.
Mr. President, sir, I stand to appreciate my brother and colleague for raising this motion. There is no question, as Senator Abga, Senator Ome said, it hurts extremely badly that children are wasted away because of the negligence of adults. But sir, like previous speakers have acknowledged, incidents of collapse of buildings and life being wasted avoidably is very rampant across the country. I think, with profound respect, Mr. President, that rather than lament the consequences of official negligence, we should go to the root of the matter and tackle it at source. When I had the privilege of being a governor in Edo State, now I want to speak from my experience, I found that in the Ministry of Works, they do have engineers, civil engineers, structural engineers, architects, quantity surveyors, etc., etc. As a poor governor, you sit down there and you deal with the documents with regards to pricing, etc., etc. And in good faith, you set up a board to invite tenders, and all manners of people tender. The results are, as I have seen in Nigeria, this is arguably one of the few countries where everybody is a civil engineer, everybody is a civil engineering contractor. Even we Senator Chiburo can put out Adams and Co. Civil Engineering Limited and bid for a sophisticated civil engineering contract. Ethics are looking at the laws. It is other federal laws that the Nigeria Institute of Architects is registered. It is other federal laws that Nigeria's Institute of Civil Engineers or of Engineers is registered. I think my brother was honored recently by one of those associations.
It is other federal laws that Nigeria Institute of Quality Surveyors is registered. And even the rate they are paid are prescribed by federal laws. Therefore, I believe we have jurisdiction to go to the source, not just to lament the consequences, but to go to the source. That we amend the relevant sections of the Act establishing these institutions. Quantity surveying to deal with issue of inflation of prices, structural engineering to deal with the issue of competence among its rank, and if things like this happen, we identify who were the supervisors and deal with it. I think we are dealing with issues of corruption, if we are to call a spade a spade.
One more.
Now, whereas these institutions exist, I'm going to round up now, they hardly do the job. Even here in Abuja, you see buildings and you wonder if they were done by competent structural engineers. Structures is extremely important. And I think we amend those laws in a way that everybody cannot wake up and set up a civil engineering company and begin to bid for contracts that is neither equipped to deal with, neither by reasons of competence or appropriate skilled engineering, structural engineering staff to deal with the issue of stability of the structure. So whereas I share everything that has been said, which in this case is within the competence of subnationals, but what we can do as a national parliament that regulate the various institutions is to see what we can do to tinker with the law such that if you design a building and you are obliged to supervise the construction, should the building collapse within a certain number of years, you are liable not only to withdraw your license, you are liable to prosecution. Again, my sympathy to the people and the government of Plateau State for the available death of this achievement.
Finally, distinguished Senator Sam.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I'm Senator Dr. Titus Zan. I represent Benue Northwest Senatorial District. Mr. President, I rise to join my voice in sympathy with my colleague and brother, Senator Plank, over the sad loss of this young children who had the misfortune of being killed under the collapsed building. I have listened to the emotions poured out by my colleagues in respect of this tragedy. But one important aspect of the situation that has not been addressed is the cost of building materials, which may have given rise to the spate of collapsed buildings in this country. For long as the cost of building materials will remain high, people will cut corners. How much does a bag of cement cost now? Almost 10,000 naira, which speaks to the state of our economy. So as a parliament, I will suggest that something serious should be done towards the direction of mitigating the rising cost of building materials at this moment, so that we can control incidences of building collapse in this country. I once again sympathize with the people of Plateau State over this sad loss of their children under these avoidable circumstances. Thank you, Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleagues. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, the very tragic incidents in loss and Jos is a loss to the whole nation. And the nation woke up to realize the loss of so many souls who were indeed future leaders and those that would have inherited all the efforts of our present generation. There is no doubt that everybody is in sympathy and nobody is opposed to this motion. So I want to thank the distinguished Senator Plank for bringing this to the fore. On behalf of the Senate, I had already condoled with His Excellency, the Governor of Plateau State, Governor Caleb, and also the Bomb from Jos, and many of the traditional fathers who were in the chambers to partake in the public hearing on the livestock bill. So we'll go straight to the prayers. Urge the federal government and relevant government agencies to immediately put necessary structures and apparatus in place to halt construction failures and bring to book all those violating laid down procedures for in respect of construction activities. Those in support of prayer one say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer two, urge the federal government to investigate this sad incident and bring to book anyone connected with putting up the shabby structures of the St. Academy's school Buza Buji that collapsed and killed those innocent children in the Plateau North Senatorial District. I think there should be a slight amendment. Anybody? Anybody?
Mr. Senate President, I
Yes.
think it should be urged the Plateau State government, not federal government.
Thank you. Any seconder? Any seconder? Yes, my brother, Senator Haruna.
Mr. President, I do second that that price should be changed to read Plateau State Government. Thank you.
Thank you. Distinguished senators, the second prayer has been amended to read urge the Plateau State Government instead of federal government. Urge the Plateau State Government to investigate the sad incident and bring to book anyone connected with putting up the shabby structures of the St. Academy School Busa Ibuji that collapsed and killed so many innocent children in the Plateau North Senatorial District and wounded others. Those in support of this amendment as proposed and seconded say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 3. Further urge the National Emergency Agency NEMA to quickly mobilize relief and rehabilitation materials to those families who are victims of this catastrophe to help them cope with their losses. Those in support of prayer 3 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 4, urge the Federal Ministry of Health and other relevant agencies to immediately move to Plateau North Senatorial District to give medical aid and attention to the survivors of the said building crash. And this will cushion the devastating effect on the families. Those in support of prayer 4 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Prayer 5, observe a minute silence in honor of those who lost their lives in this ill-fated just incident. Those in support of this prayer 8 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, additional prayer. Yes, distinguished Senator Ashiru.
Your Excellency, I want to emphasize that at the root of all this problem of building construction is lack of adequate supervision and professionalism on the part of building control agencies at local level, local government and state level. So I will want to say that we should urge the building control agencies, both at local and state, to be more professional, to shun corruption, and to do their work. That's all more.
Any seconder? Yes, this is Senator Yaya.
Thank you, Mr. President. I rise to second the additional prayer raised by my leader, the deputy leader of the Senate, to the effect that the building control agencies at the local and state level should be seen to be doing their work professionally. I also agree with him that a lot of the building collapses that we have been witnessing all over the country are due to the lackadaisical attitude of the agencies that are charged with ensuring the safety of and the structural integrity of buildings. I so second, Mr. President.
Colleagues, the motion, additional prayer has been moved and seconded. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, distinguished Senator Dixon.
Mr. President and my dear colleagues, Henry Seraki Dixon. Mr. President, the additional prayer I am proposing for our consideration, realizing the fact that this incident keeps reoccurring. Churches are collapsing, schools are collapsing, hospitals are collapsing, and all over the country. And speaking to the issue of how we harmonize the laws and do a study of the various responsibilities that people have under the various laws, whether it is national or subnational laws. And that was the main issue that distinguished Senator Shomole spoke to. To address that, I'm proposing that we direct the relevant committees of the Senate, i.e., the housing and the committee on works, to interface with the various professional bodies and examine the legal framework under which they operate, and also interact with the subnational entities so that we can determine the adequacy or otherwise and know what to do. I so propose.
Senator Asukwa.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the motion or the prayer as ably.
Distinguished colleagues, additional prayer by distinguished Senator Dixon, seconded by distinguished Senator Asukwa. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, the distinguished Senator Nwoko.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Ned Nwoko. I represent the good people of Delta North, Delta State. I do propose an additional prayer. Mr. President, in most instances, when buildings collapse like this, there's no compensation. There are no recourse to any kind of support from anybody other than the victims relying on self-help. So I do suggest that there should be a proposal for compulsory insurance cover of buildings during construction and afterwards, so that there should be some kind of support. It comes in two ways. One is that before any insurance company will agree to insure a building, they must also ensure that that building is properly constructed. And then secondly, for the victims to have some support should any building collapse. I think that should be a prayer, yes. So, well, the additional prayer is that all buildings during and after construction should have compulsory insurance policies.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Garba.
Thank you very much, the Senate President, my distinguished colleagues. My name is Garba Musa Maidoki, Senator representing Kebbi South Senatorial District. Your Excellency, I rise to support the motion ably moved by Senator Ned Nwoko. This insurance policy
has two effects, just like he said. If it were insured, the insurance company will make sure all the right documentations and all approval are adhered to strictly before they even give insurance to the building. And secondly, you are sure that in the case of eventualities like the one in Plateau, that the victims will have some succor. If this is done, and the insurance premium might not be too much from what I understand the insurance company, is a small premium paid regularly. If it goes this way, the enforcement of the building codes will be further enhanced by this provision. I so second. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Ned Nwoko has proposed an additional prayer that all public schools and all public buildings, and particularly public schools, should be insured by relevant insurance agencies. All public buildings, particularly schools.
Mr. President, all buildings, regardless of whether they are
all
private
buildings.
or public.
Because why I'm saying that is that if somebody has a private house and he wants to misconstruct it,
no,
it's doing so at his own peril.
No, Mr. President, any third building should be insured as well, because every building will expect visitors.
But
and,
you know,
anything can happen.
If you want all buildings in Nigeria to be insured, you'll be surprised that a lot of people may not have money to build the houses, talk less of having money to pay for insurance premium. But I would have said that compulsorily, mandatorily, that all public buildings, things that have to do with public, such as bars, institutions, schools particularly, and public infrastructure such as these entertainment centers, recreation centers, anything, any building that has to do with the public should be insured compulsorily in order to take care of the welfare of people. But if you are saying all buildings in Nigeria, I'll put the question. Those in support of the proposal that all buildings in Nigeria should be insured, as proposed by Senator Ned Nwoko, say aye. Those again say nay. The nays have it. Yes. Additional prayer. Yes, Natasha.
I thought.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm Natasha Kotuduaha, representing the hardworking people of Kogi Central. Mr. President, a number of these buildings that serve as schools are not purpose-built.
We want additional prayer, not.
It is an additional prayer, sir. We have seen children fall
additional
from
prayer.
Yes. The additional prayer is that we should urge the Federal Ministry of Education to embark upon regular inspections of all learning institutions, especially primary and secondary public schools, to ensure that their structures are built for due operations. The reason why I'm saying this, sir, is because we have seen incidents where children drown in schools, where their pools are open. We have also had incidents where toddlers fall from 3- or 4-story buildings because their balusters are too wide. So it is also the duty of the Federal Ministry of Education.
So your additional prayer is that we should urge the Federal Ministry
of Education to embark upon regular inspections.
It is first, it is a state government affair. The federal government does not own a single primary school.
The State Ministry of Education, sir.
But because of the universities, you may wish to add that urge the state and federal government to undertake regular inspection
Okay.
of the structures of federal and state institutions
Yes, sir.
by relevant agencies in the build industry.
Very well, sir.
Any seconder, here is the same Senator Amos Johanna.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I rise to second the additional prayer that the state ministries of education should embark on regular inspection of all schools and ensure that their structures are of standards. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, distinguished Senator Natasha Oduan and distinguished Senator Amos Johanna have proposed and seconded additional prayer that we should urge states and federal governments, particularly the ministries of education, with relevant agencies of the state and federal governments to undertake periodic checks on institutional facilities to ensure that they meet with the highest standard to avoid further loss of lives through the collapse of these structures. Those in support of this additional prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Yes, distinguished Senator Asukwa.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Asuko Epeyon, Cross River South. I would like an additional prayer. In that prayer, we urge for the compulsory requirement for insurance coverage on public buildings and commercial spaces. That is the prayer.
This is Senator Ned Nwoko.
Thank you, Mr. President. I do stand to second the motion of the prayer ably moved by Senator Epeyon. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved by Senator Asuko and seconded by Senator Ned Nwoko that we should urge all state and federal governments to ensure total coverage, total insurance coverage of all public, commercial, and school and institutions generally, of buildings, insurance cover, to ensure insurance cover of public and school buildings and institutional buildings to avoid this kind of disaster on members of the public and students alike. Those in support of the additional prayer, I move and second. They say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So let me thank the Distinguished Senator Plank for bringing this to the fore, and thank all my colleagues who have contributed to this, and also thank you also for the additional prayers, and then further condole with the government and good people of Plateau State and all Nigerians, because like Senator Omen said, the death of these children, if taken one by one, the identities of the children would definitely include an Igbo man, because he's very sure that the Igbos have spare parts industries in Plateau State, and the children who their children want to go to school. So I want us to condole with all Nigerians, sympathize with the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and all Nigerians over the tragic incidents in Jos, not limited to Plateau State alone, but to the whole nation, and pray that God will accept the souls of these children and then condole the families. And at the same time, we must also, as the Senate, take measures to ensure that we enforce these resolutions to avoid further loss of lives through building collapse in Nigeria. This is one incident too many. May we now rise for 1 minute silence in honor of these children who were killed through this building collapse in Jos. May the souls of our dear children who were brutally killed in the building collapse at St. Academy School, Bosabuji, in Jos North local government area of Plateau State, rest in perfect peace. Yes.
Point of order.
Yes, Senator Mustafa. Senator Mustafa.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, I'm coming under Order 41 and 51. Okay. Mr. President, Order 51 requires that the matter for discussion shall, if possible, be referred to the President of the Senate before commencement of the day's sitting, and the President of the Senate shall refuse to allow the claim unless he is satisfied that the matter is definite and urgent. And Order 51, notice shall not be dispensed with in the case of a motion or in respect of any other proceeding for which notice is required except with the consent of the President of the Senate and the general assent of the senators present. Okay. Mr. President, I've discussed this matter with you.
So because of distinguished colleague, because of the fact that we have already taken one order 41 today, can we refer your own to the next day?
Oh. Mr. President,
oh, okay.
This thing has been lingering.
Sorry, your motion is already on the order paper.
But
so you don't need to come under order 41 or 51. It's going to be taken today.
Okay.
So thank you. Yes, point of order, Cyril.
Mr. President.
So, sorry, Senator Mustafa, you understand? On the order paper, your motion is listed. So you don't need to come under any order. It's going to be taken today, so you don't need to be to come under any order. Yes, Senator.
Yes, sir.
Cyril.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Cyril Fashui. I represent the honest and decent people of Ekiti North. I'm an Ekiti man. I'm coming under Order 9 and Order 10.
Yes, please read under Order 9 and Order 10. Read.
Yeah. 9A. Privileges are the rights enjoyed by the Senate collectively and by the members of the Senate individually, conferred by the legislative houses. Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 208, Laws of the Federation, 1990, and other statutes, or by practice, precedent, usage, and custom. 9B, whenever a matter of privilege arises, it shall be taken up immediately. Order 10, any senator may rise at any time to speak upon the matter of privilege suddenly arising, and he shall be prepared to move without a notice a motion declaring that a contempt or breach of privilege has been committed, or referring the matter to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges. But if the matter is raised in committee of the whole Senate, the chairman shall leave the chair.
Yes, proceed.
Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, I stand here as a very sad man this afternoon and agree with the event that happened over the weekend on the allegation, a blanket allegation raised by Senator Ali Ndume that every one of us were thieves. That's a very blanket statement. Just this morning, sir. Just this
He
morning.
did not say you are a thief.
That
He said all of you in government
all of us
are kleptocrats.
Yes.
And
Sir?
a thief is different.
Okay.
Somebody who is suffering from kleptomania
Okay.
is somebody who steals who steals with compulsion, right? And then most of the time you steal what you don't need. That means you can go to somebody's house and you remove the key in the door of the person's house. You don't need the key, but because it is your business to steal, you must steal. So you take the key, put it in your pocket, and leave the house. Or you see a young child playing football, and you steal the football and leave the child crying, whether you are going to use it or not. So that's what he was saying. He was saying that you are surrounded, all of you are kleptocrats. He didn't say you are thieves. I think it's stronger than being a thief. A thief is somebody who steals what he needs. A kleptocrat is somebody who steals everything, whether he needs those things or not. So that is what you are, by virtue of that description.
Yes. Mr. President.
And you are saying you are not.
Yes, I am saying I'm not. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, after this statement by Senator Ali Ndume, I have received several calls far and near, especially from my children, that told me that they needed an explanation on why a senator, especially a ranking senator of the Federal Republic, will call all of us kleptomaniacs. Just this morning, the President of Nigeria brought a supplementary appropriation bill to the Senate. It means there is nothing that can insulate us from the affairs of this government if we are the ones that are passing supplementary budgets and even the Appropriation Act. That means that I need a lot of explanation to my children and to my loved ones. When I say loved one, I'm not talking of wives. I have only one wife, but my loved ones are scattered all over the world, who wants an explanation on the inference of what Senator Ali Ndume said about all of us in the government. Mr. Senate President, I ran an election against a very formidable PDP member. And just over the weekend, there were publications that all of us APC in Ekiti State, if a member of the Senate who is an APC member calls us kleptomaniacs, it means the senator representing Ekiti North, that is myself, is also one of them because he's a member of APC. This is not good for our image. It is not good for me. And I think that statement is a breach of my privilege as a senator. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, like I said earlier, Senator Ndume's statement is a blanket statement, and I will want to implore this Senate. I will want to implore this Senate in a matter of days for him to come categorical with evidence of the people he referred to as kleptomaniacs. That is one prayer. My second prayer is that with that statement that has put me under public ridicule in my constituency, I would like this matter of privilege to be referred to the Committee on Ethics and privileges. I so submit, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues.
Distinguished brother, distinguished Senator Cyril Fasu. Well, my personal opinion will be that the party has taken the appropriate action. But since you are speaking from a point of privilege, that your privilege has been breached, and your only request is that you should face the Committee on Code of Conduct, Ethics, and Public Petition to possibly list the names of the kleptomaniacs in the government, which you believe you are not among. Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that the action of the APC has taken care of these vituperations? Those in support of what I've said, say aye. Those against, say nay. Okay. Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that this matter be further referred to the Committee on Ethics and Privileges to allow? Okay. Distinguished colleagues, Senator Fasui is of the opinion that the kleptocrats or kleptomaniacs surrounding this present administration be named by Senator Alindume, the SY whip of the Senate. Those in support of that proposal say aye, and those who believe that the party APC has taken appropriate sanctions and therefore it should not be referred to any further committee, say aye, and those again say nay. The ayes have it. Your point of order is sustained. However, the Senate is of the view that the matter be allowed to rest, as the party has taken a decision on it. Those in support of what I've said, say aye. Those against, say nay. So the matter is rested. Yes, Senate Leader.
That's a different the party also felt that was very
Who?
Mr. President, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I rise to move that the Senate goes into an executive session to enable us to discuss some matters of urgent public importance. I so move, Mr. President.
Mr. President, I rise to second the motion that the Senate goes into a closed session to discuss matters of importance. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that this Senate will go into closed session to discuss matters of urgent national importance. Those in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. So we go into closed session.